treat. I have Miss Lynn Powers with us today. She's been in the marketing industry for 30 years. There's an advertising executive who has run and transformed ad agencies across the nation. Most recently, a CEO of J. Walter Thompson. Lynn has led cultural change and digital modernization for many brands and categories, including J&J, Hershey, and Campari. She has left the advertising world to launch a clean, premium health hair care brand, MASAMI, and you all are in for a treat. I hope you all have your pen and paper to take notes. Miss Lynn, how are you doing today? Thank you for being on the show.
Brandon, that was quite an intro. Thank you. Great to be here.
Yes. I'm so glad we could have you today. So yes, what got you into starting your store? Why did you leave the corporate scene? Tell us a little story about that.
Yeah, sure. It's a very good question and a potentially really long answer, but I won't make it that long. I was in advertising, as you said, for a really long time, like 30 years. And I was, managing agencies, a large one at the end of my career. And we had a very public Me Too lawsuit against our global CEO that we found out about because we read it in the New York Post.
Oh, wow.
And from there, it sort of escalated, and he ended up resigning after a week. Because it was just kind of the kickoff of the time, these cultural times where these stories become bigger than life, right?
Yeah.
And what happened was I was basically, the right-hand person running the headquarters office. So I was the person that had to deal with the press, the legal, the lawyers, every day, the HR implications, there was just a lot of, financial things too. And I spent 2 years kind of managing the lawsuit as opposed to doing what I love, which is brand building. I wanted to get back to creating a brand and letting my creativity come out. And instead I was like, dealing with all this other stuff. People ask me, well, why did you stay and do it for 2 years? But I felt at the time, an obligation to the people that were there that I didn't want to leave them hanging. People felt, nervous and worried about the future and not sure what was going to happen and all that stuff. So I felt like I had to kind of stick it out and see it through. But then I decided, okay, enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's something that all of us may deal with in corporate America, is feeling obligated to our peers and co-workers, and it kind of prevents us from taking that next step forward. It seems like you were pushed through the circumstances to go ahead and go on your own journey, which is great, and which we're going to dive deep into. And I want to ask you, has COVID-19 affected your business, your brand any, or how's that look?
Yeah, I think like everyone, it's been day by day. And, we just launched in February.
Okay.
So, literally like weeks before the quarantine. I will say in March, I was very nervous because, we're brand new. You feel a little strange about advertising hair care when people are talking about death rates,
Yeah.
So we just decided we're going to focus on building our content, building our social. And what I realized is there was a big dialogue happening online around self-care, that once people were stuck at home, you start to feel like you want to take care of yourself a little more.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And then clean beauty is definitely a part of that. Like, I think people are more tuned into non-toxic stuff that you're putting on your skin and your hair, in your body.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's become sort of more top of mind as we've been looking around. We've been seeing the environment kind of replenish without the impact of humans.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. So I do think our business has, it's like I said, it's day by day, but I think for the long term, the idea of, clean beauty that works is something that people are going to want.
Yeah, exactly. And during this time, I've seen a lot of people starting e-commerce stores, and the beauty niche is a great niche to be in because people weren't able to get their hair done or
Yeah.
anything like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if you were seeing an increase in sales or clicks or engagement or anything like that. So what are you doing to drive traffic? What are some ways you're driving traffic to
Yeah.
your site?
It's a great question. So when we launched with 2 shows at New York Fashion Week, and we got a Peace and Beauty Independent PR story that was fantastic. And we were really kind of focusing on PR and influencers, but again, it's sort of hard to, be pitching those kind of stories in this environment. So we switched gears a little bit. And I was also, by the way, talking to several salons about partnerships at the time. And then the salons had to close. So those kind of went on pause. So we basically refocus on digital acquisition. So we do a fair amount of digital acquisition via Facebook, Instagram. Pinterest has been actually a pretty interesting channel for us. It drives a fair amount of traffic, less conversion, but more traffic. And then SEO, we do, and we've been obviously learning as this has evolved, the keywords have changed, the search terms have changed. Isolation hair has become like a big term.
Yeah.
Who would have thought, right?
Yeah.
So that's been interesting. But I think now that things look like they're starting to open up, the salon conversations are picking back up, which is exciting because I feel like, for us, you mentioned it before, people have been staying home. They can't deal with their hair and their nails. And I've been part of all these Facebook beauty groups where people are like, oh my God, I want to be first in line when the salon opens. They just can't wait to, do that. And so I really hope that these salons will survive and thrive because it's been hard for a lot of them are small businesses. Mm-hmm. Most of them, and be closed for 3 months is just really hard. So, we've been trying to help them by profiling stylists and allowing people to do virtual color consultations with one of our partners, Spoken Wheel, things like that. But it doesn't replace sales,
Exactly.
for the salons.
Yeah, and that's good to know that you're doing things locally with salons, with PR, and not only using the digital acquisition aspect of things, which is very important, but it's also important to do things on the ground as well, which you're doing. And where are you seeing the most traffic come from? Is it Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Google?
I would say, and I say this with mixed feelings, it's Facebook right now because I really don't like Facebook.
Yeah.
Well, just as a company and,
you gotta go by Zuckerberg's rules with Facebook.
Correct. I struggle with it personally.
Yeah.
But from a business perspective, and here we are on Facebook, right? Yeah. As I'm saying this. Whoops.
Yeah. It's all right.
Okay.
But hear that.
Well, but I think from a business perspective, it's driven the most sort of, acquisition for us, and that's been good. But the other thing that's been working really well for us is customer referrals, because one of the things I realized and why I even did this business, my partner actually had worked on the formulations for 10 years because it's really hard to make clean beauty that actually performs really well. Usually when you take out the sulfates and the parabens and the phthalates, it's kind of like watery and the products are not great. And, they're clean, but they don't really. And in this case, he worked really hard to make them really high performing, which was fantastic. But as a result, we have really high repeat. So that's been one of the great things, is really leaning into customer referrals and reviews. Yeah. Because my belief is when people try the product, they really like it. And that's been a huge thing. So, we really encourage people to put reviews on our site and on Amazon, because we're also sold on Amazon. And then, reviews on our site, and obviously referrals, and then, influencers as well. We've had a lot of them reach out to us. I haven't even had to do much work to find people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which has been really, really nice. So we, the reviews go a long way in beauty, as you can probably imagine. People want to, if they're paying, premium price, they want to kind of know, is this stuff going to work?
Yeah, yeah. And I've learned that retargeting ads with reviews work well as well.
Yeah.
Once you see they're interested, just retarget them with different reviews, testimonies, things like that, different awards, different things you have going on. So, yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about Instagram now. So
Sure.
are you running Instagram ads specifically to Instagram, or are you just putting all the placements out there at once? Or how's that work?
We are, but now with Facebook, you can kind of integrate the Facebook and Instagram buys into kind of one thing. So yeah, we're running on both. Instagram, it's an interesting platform. I would say a few years ago, brands seemed to get better ROI. Now it's either because, I don't know, maybe it's just saturated, and there's just a lot of noise there. But it's definitely been a harder ROI for us to get conversion from Instagram. We've gotten some, but it's taken more work. I think one of the strategies we've had is to build a following on Instagram of makeup artists. Actually, it started on Twitter, believe it or not, because I was following a lot of them on Twitter, and a lot of them were talking about their frustrations with Instagram. They weren't getting love and engagement and traction. But then following them on Instagram as well has really kind of given us a little bit of boost, because, they're just super interested in our product. They want to try it. It's just a good audience.
So what would you say to someone looking to start a brand? Because I know Shopify, they try to make it easy. Then the thought of starting an e-commerce store sounds easy, but as we both know, that it's a lot of work that goes into it. So I want to maybe have you explain to the audience, like, what all it takes, what's the process, and what to be ready for, what to watch out for, things like that.
That's a good question, because there are a lot of pieces that you don't fully realize until you're in it.
Yeah.
But I would say, it's got to start with, you've got to have a great product. We did a lot of testing on our product once we thought we had it in a good place, which was great. We tested with every ethnicity, every hair type. We wanted to make sure the products really worked. So, because I've talked to a lot of founders, especially startups, who love what they're making, but it's like a universe of one. They haven't really, it's not really a market. They haven't figured out how to make it into something that people want to buy. So first of all, you got to make sure you have a product people want. Step one. Step two, I would say, figure out your brand narrative, your brand proposition, your values of your company, and make those really clear, and kind of put those out there. And that way, that's also acts as a lens. So everything you do, kind of works off of that. I mean, when we launched, we were like, okay, we're gender neutral. We're big believers in diversity. We're big believers in transparency. We want to make sure that we're good for you. We created the MASAMI Institute, which funds ocean research in Japan. So it's like you kind of have to live into your values if you're gonna do it. So that would be step number two. And then when you start to get your actual Shopify, to your point, or whatever platform you choose, everyone I've talked to has said Shopify's it.
Yeah.
It's just the place to be. I find it really easy to work with for the most part. It was a little difficult with the theme that we chose to get it up. There were some nuances in it that required me getting a coder to fix it. But once it's up, it's pretty easy. Like, anyone on my team can put blog posts in, and so that was great. But what we've had to do is add a few plugins in. Yeah. So we have, a customer service plugin, Yotpo. We've got a review plugin. We've got what's it called? A text integration for solving abandoned carts and things like that. That we use a company called Tone, and so we've part of the challenge is figuring all these parts. And then we use Shipping Easy to do the shipping, which integrates to Shopify. I will say one of the hardest things if you're building an e-com business and you're selling a physical product like I am is fulfillment. Figuring out how you're going to do that. I interviewed a bunch of fulfillment companies in Chicago, our chemists in Chicago, and really difficult. Like just the range of pricing, the level of service. I ended up, I'm really lucky because I'm working with kind of a family-owned small solution that has been awesome. But most founders I talk to say it's it's their biggest pain point is the fulfillment.
Yeah. And it is a big pain point because there's cost involved. You want to find the right price that works with your margin and depending on your product. I know I looked into high ticket e-com. You got to look at freight services and all kind of things. So how much do you think you have invested in this project so far, just to give people an idea of what they're stepping into?
I mean, it's not for the faint of heart. That is the reality. We are self-funded. We don't have outside investment money. And between our, my partner and us, we've probably put in about $300,000 to get the product up and out. And a lot of that cost is the formulations, the making it, and then to have the inventory. It's expensive to create the products, but you need the products, that's what you're selling. So obviously the idea is you want to recoup that as quickly as possible, but there's a big heavy investment up front for most brands. I think it depends on the business you're in, of course.
Exactly.
If you can manufacture something more cheaply, and I don't know. So, but I think, I think to get it up and do it right, it's just hard to do it on the super, super cheap.
And I mean, that's a route to go, is to start your own product and go that route. There's also ways to reach out to suppliers, distributors, and sell something that's already out there. If you don't really have a budget like that, but that still gets expensive as well when it comes to buying apps and things through Spotify. But it's an investment. You have to spend on ads, and so it's just an investment. And so that's great.
Yeah. I think you're right. It's if you look at it that way and you're just realistic about it. Again, you're launching a business. So like I said, the bulk of our costs are in our product itself. But to your point, if you're doing something where you don't have to carry the inventory or, you can do it for much, much less than.
And me personally, I call different suppliers. Like I started a sporting goods store. So I'm reaching out to Yeti and different fishing brands and things like that to try to be the next Dick's Sporting Goods or something like that. So that's a route I go. It's a lot of work calling these suppliers. They want to see all your information, your business license, and you have to make sure you set up a demo store to let them know what it will look like if you're just getting started uploading like treadmills and whatever else to your store, just to show the suppliers what it would look like. And it's a lot that goes into that as well. So I know you mentioned blogging on your store. Can you let us know the importance of blogging on your website?
I'm a big fan of that for a couple reasons. One, it starts to help us tell our story in a more engaging way. So it's not just, a sales pitch, but we're actually explaining. Our last post was about our seaweed. And so the post is literally about why is seaweed good for you? Eating it, using it, et cetera. And it just it just kind of explains to people. But I definitely think it's one of those things that helps your website with search for sure. You can quote experts, backlinks, and create, it's just a good way to kind of elevate your brand in the search ranks. So we use blogs pretty heavily, I'd say. Probably once a week we're posting something. But like I said, it's more about giving people the backstory or just more information on things. We did one on how to get video chat ready hair. Now, of course, I'm not a good example because I just showered and my hair is kind of wet still. So,
well, yes, you look great. You look great. But yeah, I mean, getting in those search rankings is important, and I kind of wanted you to explain that. That's why I just talked about blogs, but it's something called
yeah.
SEO, search engine optimization, which allows you to rank up in Google. And so you should continue blogging, do your keyword research pertaining to things relevant to your brand, implement those words in your blog, and Google will crawl your page and you'll slowly start going up in those rankings. And what are some other things people can do to increase those rankings on Google?
Yeah. I mean, anything that you can do where you're able to like pull in some press. So we have a press page where we link a lot of the articles that we've been in. It's only a couple months now, so we don't have tons and tons. But also I would say the podcasts, you know, when I'm doing podcasts, I link to that as well. And that really helps. So, you know, the more sort of tentacles that you can create with links, that's how you start to build up your authority.
Yeah, those backlinks are very important. Being able to get on reputable websites, like say your local newspaper, getting out there in all the press you can, just putting your links out there, and Google will be like, okay, they're really established brand, and because these people are posting them, and even on social media, just anywhere you can post your links. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Also, have you heard about this thing with Facebook? They're coming out with Facebook shops.
Yes, I have heard that.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
It's supposedly supposed to be only new items. They have some requirements where the shipping has to be 3 days. And I just want to let our audience know to be looking out for Facebook shops, Instagram shops. These are some things coming out. So I know you've been in the advertising industry for about 30 years, correct? What are some things that you've seen transform over time? Like I know with email, and I know we have like messenger bots now, to back to when we were just sending mail, you know, direct mail physically. So how have things changed?
Well, I started kind of like, it was almost Mad Men like, it was so long ago. And we didn't even have, I mean, there was no internet. So I remember being like the first ones to try email at our office, you know. But we also were faxing everything. Think how slow that is with those fax paper that would curl up and all that stuff. But anyway, yeah, I'm just showing my age. It's not, that's not great. I would say the industry has changed a lot. I think what's happened as the marketing business has become more automated and more analytical and more data driven, the agency side of it has become challenged to how to, you know, figure out how to really make money, because, you know, agencies never charge for the value of the idea. They always charge for their time.
Yeah.
So if something now takes a lot less time, you know what I mean? Like, and clients have just gotten a lot savvier. I mean, they don't want to pay $1 million to shoot a TV commercial anymore. You know, there's so many different ways you can do it now that are, you know, $100,000, $200,000. You don't have to be paying those crazy costs. So what happens, I think, to the agencies is the profit margin has shrunk so much since I was starting in the business till now, because they really haven't figured out how to change it. And it's a talent-based business. And it's like people are used to earning a certain salary, but now we don't have the client money to support those salaries, really. So
exactly.
What happens is, you know, agencies just end up firing people because they have to make the numbers work. And then they end up, for the people that are there left, who are thinking, oh, I'm so glad I didn't get fired. Well, it's not so great because they're taking on the workload of the people who did get fired.
Yeah, yeah, and that I see it's a kind of a new world coming on with the digital marketing side. I started digging deep into this maybe 2 years ago, where I was just buying courses. So I don't know about the time where it was press and TV and you had to go to the big wig, so to say, to get your stuff out there in any industry. Now, if you have time and the internet, you can pretty much put anything out there if you know how to do it correctly, even better than some of these major companies. Uh, I do a lot of competing with my advertising on Google on shopping ads. I just want to make sure that my image or product is displayed on those shopping ads on Google. So, and I know how to do certain advertising tactics that I'm not seeing on other shopping ads, like free 2-day shipping, tax included. So they can see that right on the picture. When you first click on Google, they can see all those things. Uh, so I get a little more innovative than my competitors, and it can even be the supplier that I'm selling something for. I'm doing my advertising a little better than them just because I like to stay innovative and figure out the new thing. And Facebook groups help me out a lot. I go to these Facebook groups where that's what they specialize in.
Yeah.
And I may buy a course on it, and then my my numbers just start going through the roof with that. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Well, I will say I'm a big early adopter of a lot of different apps and platforms. So I love there's a video app. If maybe you use one yourself, but I use one called Video Leap, and I literally just cut our own videos off of that. Like, it's so easy to use. So this is my point. Like, I don't need to hire an editor.
Yeah.
Like, I can literally do it myself on my iPhone.
Yeah.
So that's been awesome, and I actually really enjoy doing it. So we've made, I don't know, 20 videos. They're all on our YouTube page. That, you know, so it's there just are a lot more tools and ways to be scrappy and to figure some of this out, I think.
Yeah. So that's why, I have a mobile agency. I'm a freelancer. I'll get clients, and I have people hired, VAs to help me out. And I learn a lot from them as well. A guy that worked for Google for years, he helps me with clients, campaigns and things like that. So it's been a journey, but I don't really need a brick and mortar building to do what I'm doing. Just setting up meetings and doing everything online, like how we're speaking. I can share my screen, show the client everything, the Google Analytics, the business manager page, to let them know what we're doing. So that's awesome. Well, so I believe I hit on a lot of things, and one thing I want to talk about is your retargeting. Do you retarget on? I know you do retarget, because I went to your website, got on Facebook, and your stuff started popping up on my Facebook. So do you just retarget on Facebook? Are you using Google ads, or how are you retargeting to guys?
Right now, we're just focused on Facebook. I think we're still kind of experimenting. And again, this is the beauty of digital, is you can try a bunch of different things on different platforms. The key is to have a good understanding of analytics. And I have someone on my team, Veronica, who's just like a digital ninja.
Yeah.
And she just is really good at looking at all the metrics and the analytics and kind of shifting the money, and you have to do that like daily, really, to get a handle on what's working for you and what's not. If it's not working, I mean, we were on Pinterest doing advertising for 2 months, and we saw it just wasn't driving the conversion. It was driving a lot of traffic. So we kind of shifted that money over to Facebook, which has been good. But now I think we're going to shift some money back and try some different things. So I think, it's about your willingness to just, try and see and pivot and yeah.
And I would encourage you to continue using Pinterest if you're driving that much traffic, because you're able to capture that traffic.
Yes.
So whenever you get that traffic through Pinterest, just do what you're doing, retarget through Facebook, because the rule of 7, it says someone has to see your product at least 7 times
Mm.
before they convert. So I use YouTube ads to get that much traffic. It's real low conversions, maybe no conversions, but I'll retarget them through Facebook or
Interesting.
through
Yeah.
Tag Manager, and just let them know about myself, like the testimonies and different awards and things like that. So if I've wanted to look into Pinterest, and I've heard good things about Pinterest, and so if it's driving that much traffic, I would run with that. So I'm going to look into
Yeah.
Pinterest. Yeah. So also Snapchat, I've heard some decent things about that, but people are having to retarget through Google, through Snapchat, through the Tag Manager. It's not really picking up Facebook pixel data or anything like that.
We're not on Snapchat, but we are starting to dip our toe into TikTok.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like, it's one of those, again, it's kind of experimental. I think it's hard for brands, you know, because we can come across as just like nerdy and don't get it. And I have a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old, and they just shake their head when I say that we're going to do something, because they're like, oh, you guys are, no, that's not going to work. But then you see examples of brands that have done like a good job, and I just think it's worth trying.
Oh yeah, TikTok is growing. It's the next big thing. It's constantly growing. And these groups I'm in Facebook, they're really talking about how shifting to TikTok to get those organic views. And I mean, if you have you don't even have to really run ads on TikTok, and you'll post something one day and see like the most I've seen was like 1,000 views organic. Like it's wild right now because it's so new.
Yeah.
Same with LinkedIn. And I follow Gary Vee. He's been preaching it for a while, but I mean that is where it's at. All my clients, I say, you have a TikTok, they think I'm crazy. They're like, that's for young people. I'm like, this Facebook used to be for college students.
Exactly.
And look at it now. So it's really
That's
investing. It's an investment getting on these platforms early. And I mean, yes, TikTok. That's where it's at, people. So if you're listening, get a TikTok account, learn TikTok. That's the future.
Agree. We'll
Yeah.
see. We'll try.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, well, I'm not gonna hold you up too long. I could talk to you all day about this stuff. I love this stuff. This is really my first time having a guest on that's into marketing as deeply as you are. So that's awesome. That is awesome. And before I let you go, please let us know where people can find you online.
Sure.
All right.
So my personal handle is Lynn Powered. So LYNNPOWERED. But my business is Love MASAMI Hair. So Love MASAMI Hair on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Pinterest, Facebook. We've got the same handle. And then if you feel compelled to try clean beauty that's super high performing and super hydrating, our website is Love MASAMI.
Awesome. And one more question. Are you a reader? Or
yes.
What's one book that you would recommend our audience get?
Well, since we're talking kind of business, I will recommend one of my favorite business books, which is, I believe it's called Thinking Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman.
Okay.
It basically explains the way your brain processes information and how our reptile brains don't want to work that hard. So we tend to shortcut things. I mean, I'm giving my synopsis of what but basically how, it's, if you translate that into marketing, why, you have to really synthesize your messaging in a way that people just get it and see it. But it kind of explains decision-making and why certain decisions happen. Because they're based on, people making these very shorthanded sort of assumptions on things. But it's really interesting. A lot of good examples in there. Politics, that's a big one. How people decide who they like and why. Fascinating.
Yeah, our mind is a powerful thing, and it is good to know the capabilities and how we need to start processing and the right mindset to have in order to make the right decisions, because we can get overwhelmed sometimes and, shortcut things sometimes. So that's most definitely something that I will look into. Well, Miss Lynn, I appreciate you coming on the Brand on Zone. If you're listening in, all of Miss Lynn's links will be in the show notes as well in the description. And if you missed it, we'll be on Apple, Spotify, Google, everywhere. So
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. And by the way, I like your name. It's very clever.
Awesome. You got it. You got it. Thank you.
Nice.
I appreciate that. Well, have a great rest of your day. And I will be talking to you, staying in touch with you.
All right. Sounds good. Bye.
All right. Take care.